What if 100 volcanoes erupted at the same time? Volcanoes are among the most powerful and unpredictable forces on Earth. Throughout history, they've reshaped landscapes, destroyed entire cities, and triggered massive climate shifts. But what if 100 volcanoes erupted all at once, in a terrifying synchronized explosion across the globe? It's a scenario that sounds like science fiction, but if it were to happen, the effects would be catastrophic. Not just regionally, but globally. Let's start with the eruption itself. Picture 100 volcanoes, some small, some gigantic, blowing their tops across every continent. In Indonesia, Mount Merapi roars to life. In Italy, Mount Etna and Vesuvius awaken. Pacific Ring of Fire becomes a blazing chain of destruction. Iceland's volcanoes spew ash into the sky, while dormant giants in Africa and the Americas rumble with fury. Lava fountains light up the night skies across the globe. Pyroclastic flows faster than cars tear through nearby settlements. Entire towns are buried in ash. Forests catch fire. Rivers are blocked or redirected. Highways become useless. Airports shut down as ash clouds rise tens of kilometers into the atmosphere. But this is only the beginning. The simultaneous eruptions eject billions of tons of volcanic ash and gases like sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and water vapor into the atmosphere. These particles spread quickly through global wind currents, forming a thick veil that dims sunlight and cools the planet. Within days, regions near eruptions experience darkness during daytime. Sunlight is filtered through the thick haze. In some areas, street lights remain on during midday. People begin wearing masks, not because of a virus, but because the air is thick with microscopic ash that scratches the lungs and burns the eyes. Temperature drops begin shortly after. Even a 1 or 2 degrees Celsius decrease in global temperature could have massive consequences. For context, the eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 caused the year without a summer. Crops failed, snow fell in June, and famine spread. Now imagine 100 Tamboras at once. Agriculture would be among the first sectors to collapse. With less sunlight reaching the surface, photosynthesis slows dramatically. Crops like corn, wheat, and rice suffer, first in yield, then in total failure. Farmers struggle with poisoned soils and toxic rain. Livestock perish from starvation or from breathing contaminated air. Within weeks, global food markets spiral into chaos. Nations that rely on imports panic, supply chains break down, prices rise sharply, hunger turns into famine. International food aid is overwhelmed, riots break out, governments may fall. The oceans too are affected. Ash rains into the seas, altering the pH and choking marine life. Fish populations decline. Coral reefs, already stressed by climate change, die off in large sections. Fisheries collapse. Coastal communities lose their food source and income. Meanwhile, undersea volcanic eruptions generate massive tsunamis. If even a few underwater volcanoes erupt simultaneously, they could send waves racing across the Pacific, Indian, and Atlantic Oceans. Coastal cities from Tokyo to San Francisco, Jakarta to Sydney would be on high alert. Some would be wiped out before they even knew what hit them. Infrastructure crumbles under the strain. Roads disappear under ash or lava. Power lines snap from seismic activity. Satellites experience malfunctions from the increased atmospheric debris. Communication becomes unstable. Internet services go offline. Global positioning systems falter. The modern digital world slows to a crawl. Emergency services are overwhelmed. Hospitals fill with patients suffering burns, respiratory issues, or injuries from collapsed buildings. Air travel halts completely, not just from fear of more eruptions, but because aircraft engines cannot function in ash-filled skies. International trade freezes, economies tumble. As the skies darken and the world cools, people begin burning more fuel for warmth. But oil refineries, many located near coastlines or fault zones, are crippled by earthquakes and ash. Energy prices surge. In colder regions, heating becomes a luxury. Some freeze in their homes. Others flee south in desperate migrations. Social unrest spreads faster than the ash clouds. Cities see protests over food, fuel, and water shortages. Governments enforce curfews. In some places, martial law is declared. Borders close to protect resources. Refugees are turned away. Climate-wise, The Earth begins entering what scientists call a volcanic winter. The massive amount of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere reflects sunlight away from the planet, potentially lowering temperatures by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius for several years. This would be more than enough to disrupt nearly every major ecosystem. Tropical rainforests begin drying out. Polar ice begins to expand again. Deserts grow larger as rain patterns shift. Migratory animals lose their paths. Entire species go extinct. Human civilization, built in stable climates for centuries, begins to unravel in places. And yet, amid the devastation, humanity would adapt. Scientists around the world would work non-stop to monitor volcanic activity, track ash clouds, and advise governments. Engineers would build massive air filtration systems and create artificial lighting for indoor farming. New agricultural techniques like vertical farms and lab-grown meat would rise in importance. International cooperation would become a necessity, not a choice. Global summits would focus on food security, disaster relief, and climate adaptation. Nations would share data and resources in ways never seen before. Political rivalries might soften in the face of a shared crisis. You might even learn from the experience. Urban planners may rethink how and where we build cities. Renewable energy could surge in importance, especially solar panels built above the ash clouds, or geothermal power sourced from Earth's heat. Scientists might invest in early warning systems, asteroid defense, or even climate engineering to prevent future catastrophe. The cultural impact would be enormous. Books, movies, and art would reflect our new reality. Religion and spirituality could see a revival or a shift as people search for meaning in the chaos. A new generation of thinkers, engineers, and activists would rise, forged in crisis, ready to rebuild. But for all our resilience, the world would never be the same. Nature would remind us of its power. Our planet is not tame. It breathes, it erupts, it cools and warms with or without our permission. We are guests on this world, not its masters. So what if 100 volcanoes erupted at the same time? It would be one of the greatest trials humanity has ever faced. A test of our science, our spirit, and our unity. We might survive. We might even rebuild. But we would carry the scars in our landscapes, our cultures, and our memories. For generations to come, the Earth is alive. And when it roars, the world listens.